going on, everybody? Benton Blakeman here for the Hand History Lounge. This is the Online Grind, Volume 6. I know it's been a while since we last played. A lot of things have happened. I kind of got busy playing live poker, did a little bit traveling, and that's about it. Kind of neglected the online thing, but that's okay. We're back now. Little changes that happened was New Jersey. New Jersey's been added into the player pool. So now the player pools online for the legalized online poker have gotten bigger, with Nevada, New Jersey, and I think Delaware kind of forming a coalition. I don't know what word to use. Anyway, so now we actually have a few games. So I'm sitting here at 2:30 in the afternoon Vegas time, and I am playing 3 games currently, about to be 4 tables of 1-2 no limit. So anyway, let's hop right into the action. Over on table 2 here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and eventually 4. Over on table 2, we flopped 3 sevens, checked the flop, went for a check raise. It didn't happen. Checked the turn, and we went for a check raise again and took it down. Let's see here. 2 5s. I think it's fine just to call. Sometimes a player to our left, who I'm going to guess is Ryan LaPlante, if his screen names hold true, potential. Very good guy. I know Ryan, and very good player. But I think he's going to play pretty straightforward, so I don't mind just calling, taking a flop. I think he's going to have a better pair a fair amount of the time, or some suited Broadway cards, Jack-10 suited, Queen-Jack suited, even Ace-Jack suited. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and fold. Yeah, King-Jack suited. Perfectly fine. Didn't see a need to isolate for the $22 or whatever. We'll just go ahead and take a flop. And he takes the money. Good for him. Over on table 1, a little bit loose. 5-4 suited from essentially the hijack. Probably going to be pretty much the bottom of my opening range, but I like to play hands post flop. I like to play probably too many hands in general, but you know, it is what it is. I like to play poker. I like to play hands. 2 jacks. Table 3, 2 jacks on the button. We've got a 60 big blind stack here raising. We're going to raise them up. We're going to make it 15, seems about right. Somewhere between 3 and 4x. He calls. We get a King 9-4 rainbow. He checks. We're going to go ahead and check it back. Looking to get the showdown with this hand. King's a pretty good card on the turn. Definitely going to be looking to call down. Table 1, Queen 10 offsuit versus this small size raise we're going to be defending. Take a flop. Check it. Versus sizing. Look, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it when he's just betting, but we under-rep by checking back the flop, so we can't really be folding now. So we just go ahead and call down and take the pot. Can't really consider folding. We'll get back to that in a second. With this gut shot here, we're going to just do an out of position float. Look to hopefully take it away on rivers when the turn checks through. I honestly don't believe him so much, but that's okay. I mean, it's a small pot. Go ahead and let him take it. Back here on table 3, with the 2 jacks, the last hand, I don't know how to get to it. Yeah, with the 2 jacks, once we check back the flop, we just can't be folding rivers when he's betting half pot. I guess if he bets full pot, we could start consider folding, because we will have some kings that we check back. But this is going to be one of the better hands that we're going to have here when we take a check flop line and then call turn. So pretty standard call there. Keep getting littered with these pocket 4s. I think I had them a few times before I started the recording, but hey, we take whatever pairs we can get. I have a new setup since the last time, so if you notice I keep looking this way, I'm on a 2-monitor setup. So I've got you directly ahead of me with my lobby on this monitor, and then on this monitor is the one I'm recording with the 4 games. So that's why I'm looking away from the camera. So on table 2, pretty easy call. 1 big blind more with the 4s. With the flop, just looking to check fold. On table 3, simple fold. If this player had just called, or if nobody called, we would have a pretty easy call for $2.50 for one more big blind, 1.5 more big blinds as played. Pretty easy fold. The fours, even though it checks through, I think a lot of times the raiser is checking a value hand, and even the button can be checking back a 7 or a 6, so it's still a pretty easy just fold. Move on. So again, sorry for the lack of videos, but just kind of been busy playing poker, doing a few other things, playing a lot of golf, spending a lot of time in the Hand History Lounge. Hand History Lounge is growing. We have more and more signups. Everybody loves it. Like everybody who signs up just they really enjoy it, and it's a really good thing that we're doing. Andrew and I both enjoy hanging out in the lounge. So it's something I think you should really check out. Go to www.handhistorylounge.com. Over here on table 1, we raise under the gun, so we're going to have a pretty strong range. I like to turn bottom pairs into semi-bluffs. Middle pairs I would consider checking back a little bit more. I think that I am fine just 3-barreling this. So I'm going to bet whatever I would bet here if I had a pretty strong hand. I think we can get a fold from Queen Jack and King Jack by the river. This is pretty nasty when he check shoves. It's just a fold now. But yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, there's definitely merit to just checking back and taking my equity into the river when I pick up a flush draw. But I think when we bet the flop and turn equity, and we have a perceived range advantage, being an early position raiser, and he has a wide range from the big blind, he's going to have a lot of king baby suiteds, which I think he can be folding his one pair hands, like his weakest kings. He can be folding those on the river, and he should be folding all of his queens versus 3 barrels. So I don't mind my bet at all. Obviously wish it would have worked out, but can't always get what we want, right? Ace-6 offsuit on table 2. Really weak hand. We have a decent blocker removal effect, so I'm going to go ahead and use this as a 3-bet bluff because I really hate just calling. Even one more blind, I don't like calling. I can't consider folding for one blind. And just having the ace blocker, I'm okay with just going ahead and making a 3-bet semi-bluff. On this board, I think that a lot of times when I bet, he may just raise, and I don't want to face a raise. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a check. Over on table 1, I raise with 5s, get 3-bet, I call. And on table 3, we're definitely going to be 3-betting here. Now we're going to go ahead and start betting. Half pot seems about right. And ace queen, I'm going to check back with 2 overs and a flush draw. Over on table 2, I think I'm going to check. Yeah, that's fine. So on table 2, I consider betting for value, but I'm not sure because I block ace king and ace queen. I don't know how often he's just going to call with ace high hands. When he calls a turn, I don't really love it. So just check and hope to get the showdown, and that's fine. He had 2 jacks, and as you can see, he wasn't loving his spot because he just check back flop, just called turn, and check back river. So no harm, no foul. No problem there. The ace queen over on table 3. Sandman ended up with 2 7s and won the pot, but that's fine. Ace queen is one of the weaker hands that I'm going to be checking down. Some of my weaker ace highs I would be betting. Had I 3-bet him with a ace x suited or ace 10 off. Oops, I will probably be betting those. But anyway, ace queen has enough showdown value. It's beating all of the aces because he's going to 4-bet ace king. So he doesn't really have ace king. So essentially we pretty much have the nut ace high hand. So I don't mind checking down, and unfortunately he had a pair. Go ahead and add some chips. Can raise the ace-8 off from the cutoff. A little bit loose, but I think it's fine. If we get 3-bet, it's just going to be a fold. Ace-4 suited, a little bit too weak to be calling 3.5x raises from the cutoff. Some people probably can defend that profitably. I don't feel like I can. If he made it $5, I would call for a 2.5x, but as played with no callers, I'm just going to fold. If there were one caller, I would likely consider squeezing like I did with the ace-6 on table 2 earlier. Queen jack off under the gun to me is a little bit too loose. I'm going to be folding here. I would open it from the cutoff in the button, occasionally from the hijack, depending on the players behind me and on the blinds. But under the gun, it's a little bit too loose for me. Down on table 3, I open all pairs from all positions in 6-max. In 9-handed, I do fold some occasionally in early position. But if you told me you opened all of them, I'd be okay with that. Deuce 4-4, I think we're going to get called a lot by ace highs, so there's actually value in betting. I'm going to start off by betting about half the pot. I think you can get away with betting even smaller, but I think half the pot's fine. And going to be checking turns because we probably wouldn't bet a ton of ace high hands. He's going to call with a ton of ace high hands, so this turn actually favors him more than it does me. When he checks back, not loving my spot. That's a pretty interesting float on his part with the 7-8 of spades. Makes sense though. Yeah, whatever. He got there. Nice hand. I do not see a need for me to bet the turn here. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy betting the turn here. Again, because I think he just floats so many ace high hands. With ace 3 here, I think I'm gonna. Let's see. I'm going to check this ace-6. Yeah, I think I'm going to check the ace-3 because he can just raise me a lot. He can also just blow me off my hand, but I'm going to go for a check bet line here and just bet as if I had a pair and I was worried that he may have trips. I think it works enough. What happened? Okay. Yeah, so it worked. He folded the river. So yeah, that works. So when we take a bet check bet line, which in general I don't like too much, it's indicative of like if I have 2 7s or 2 8s here, I would definitely bet the flop because I can get called by ace highs, and for protection on the turn I would go into check call mode, but it checks. And on the river, I would probably make some smallish bet. Again, trying to get called by ace high or maybe even pocket 4s or pocket 3s. And it also makes sense when a queen hits, especially a queen, because some ace high hands we're going to be checking on the flop, ace king, ace queen. But a lot of our queen jacks, king queens, queen 10 suiteds, queen 9 suiteds, a lot of those hands we're going to be betting flop, giving up turn, but then we can make top pair on the river, so we're going to be going for value. So that's when a bet check bet line makes sense to me. Over on table 2, definitely a candidate to 3-bet if you'd want. I personally don't always 3-bet there. I could probably bring up my random number generator and decide based on that. Kind of keep that down here for now. And, you know, if we would have clicked on that and saw 29, we would have went with the fold. If it had a big number, we could have went with a 3-bet. Versus 3x raise on table 1, ace-8 suited. I'm going to go ahead and call. Flop top pair, start with a check. Turn aces and 8s. I'm still going to be checking. And on the river, I'm just going to go ahead and go for some value. Definitely could bet the turn here versus savvy players. I think a lot of times they're just checking back an ace, and they're going to go ahead and start betting on the turn. So I think I'm fine with a check or a bet. I chose to check there. Again, probably could have used my generator and decided like 0 through 30 a check, 30 through 60 a bet, and 70 through 100 check raise or something, just to mix it up. But anyway, I'm fine with that line. 2 8s we raise. I'm gonna check back the flop. Ace high flops versus the big blind are not great because they're gonna defend almost every ace for the price that they're giving, and I don't like to go crazy c-betting, especially when I have a hand that can win at showdown. And this spot is just a fold. I'm gonna have other hands like jacks that I can call with. Queen 8 suited on table 2. Definitely going to be calling one more big blind with this. Min raise from the cutoff, button flats, small blind flats. Some people would choose to squeeze here. I think you can find a lot better hands to squeeze here that have good removal. Ace Jack offsuit comes to mind. But Queen 8 suited is going to play perfectly fine multi-way. And I don't want to drive up a pot out of position in a hand that's going to play okay anyway multi-way. Hands like King Queen off, King Jack off, Ace Jack off, those hands just don't play terrific multi-way. I'm going to go ahead and bet after this checks through with second pair and good kicker because we can still get called by worse 8s. 7, 8, 8, 9. We can get called by a ton of flush draws. A few straight draw possibilities out there. Okay, our hand is good, but not good enough to check raise, so we're just going to go ahead and bet the river here. Bet it pretty decent sized. Go for some value, and he has a flush. And that's fine. I mean, he checked back flush draw, got there in the turn. We're just going to bet fold rivers, so no problem with that. If we check, we're definitely calling. I'm fine with the way that hand played out. King Queen off on table 1. I'm going to be calling the raise out of position. Again, no reason to really 3-bet here. We're going to be out of position no matter what. We don't need to protect our hand versus anybody else. It's not multi-way. And checking the flop. Queen Jack off on table 3. Against a 3x raise, you could most likely just be calling here, but after it goes raise, re-raise, pretty easy fold. To table 1, most likely going to be calling any bet on the flop here. Still checking turns. Expecting to face a bet here a whole lot. I think that almost any hand, I don't think he's going to be calling much on the river, so I'm going to just check again and hope that he decides to stab with a hand like 7-8 that he had totally given up on. 8-9, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's the reason. It looks really weird that we just checked down 3 times, but a lot of times they just don't have a hand, and they're going to have to turn some of these into bluffs, or else they're under bluffing. That time he decided not to, so good for him. Six, 7 off on the button on table 2. We're going to go ahead and open it. You could definitely be using smaller sizes, by the way. I'm just extremely lazy, and I'm not typing in bet sizes. I just have it defaulted to 3x, and just click the buttons. I think the correct sizing is probably online $4.50, maybe $5. Fine, this is really one of the first. I played a short 5-10 session online the other day, but this is the first time I'm really playing since the player pools merged between New Jersey and Nevada. The games still seem the same to me. You know, I'm a little bit removed from the online world. I play a lot of live. Live poker is a whole lot different. Table 1, I'm just going to fold ace-6 off. I don't care to play it. 3x raised. Yeah, games are kind of tough. Definitely not my favorite thing here, but do it for you guys. Do it all for the videos. Go ahead and bet the ace-9 2 overs on an 8-5-3 board where we had a range advantage. Raise the jack-8 off on the button into 2 players, and I was going to say I don't think he's going to 3-bet as wide because of the short stacker here and the chances of exactly this happening, but he did it anyway, so note to self, probably don't want to open as weak as jack-8 off. Raise and re-raise here. Going to go ahead and fold the queen jack. Folding ace-3 off from the small blind versus button raise. Six, 7 suited on the button. Raise it up. Nine, 7 suited to cut off. That's definitely worth a raise. This was a post by a short stack, so we're going to raise it slightly larger. Deuce 3 suited on the button here. Too loose. Looks pretty, but really not worth it. We're raising up the ace-king. 9, 7 suited 3 ways. We're going to go ahead and delay our c-bet. I don't like to bluff as often 3 ways. We're going to go ahead and check the flop, see what happens. And facing a bet, we're just going to go ahead and fold. Going to pull up another game for you guys. Raise the king-queen off on table 2. And get dealt the ace-king of spades. Alright, facing a 3-bet here from the small blind. I'm going to go ahead and fold king-queen off. I would definitely defend king-queen suited. And if you wanted to defend king-queen off with reads on this player, I think it's fine, but I'm going to go ahead and fold here. King-queen off versus essentially a min raise is definitely going to be a call. I'm going to start off with a check call. He uses a rather large sizing. We turn top 2, we're going to check, and we're going to go ahead and 4x this. Check. Let's see, we can check raise here. His sizing is extremely large, and I think he just folds a lot to check raises. So we're just going to check call. And we're going to check rivers, and also be looking at check call, but expect to check down a lot and just beat a hand like ace-king. Or aces. Yeah, I think a check raise on the turn, while it would be the standard play versus a good player is always folding his one pair hands there. So I am just going to not check raise turns too often versus a good player, and especially when he's sizing that large, I'm going to look for safe rivers and look to check jam rivers. Unfortunately, when the river comes to flush draw, I kind of know he's going to check back a lot. So I could have considered leading, I guess, but first those large sizings, I'm kind of okay with it all. What happened with the ace-king here? We lose to 2 5s with the flush. That's fine. Ace-king suited. Okay, king-queen off here. Cut off raises. We're going to go ahead and 3-bet the button. I like a 3x sizing, slightly over 3x maybe. And we'll be doing the same on table 3 if Elon raises. We're going to try to go with, well, we've been standard sizing. Let's just keep standard sizing. 3x. King Queen high on table 1. I think that I can either check or bet this. I think I can mix in the two. Since I'm not worried about a check raise, I'm going to go ahead and just bet. I don't mind if I get check raise there, and I don't mind denying equity and ending the hand. But if you want to always check your nut, no pair hands, that's also fine. Raising Jack 9 suited from the cutoff. Standard for me. Flop middle pair. Likely checking back. Likely calling turns. And checking rivers. And perfectly fine. Lose about the minimum. He's never folding, and we didn't get strung out. Queen 10 off. A little bit too loose. I would open from the cutoff and the button. Not many hands today. Not many hands. A bunch of kind of mediocre hands, but it's kind of good to see that, like, I mean, sometimes hands just don't work out. Sometimes you end up with the second best hand a lot, and you can't let it frustrate you. You can't let it get to you. You just play the cards that are dealt to you, play them as best as you can, and that's the way it goes. King Jack off. That sounded weird. Go ahead and call. Versus 3x. Start off by checking top pair. We're going to delay a c-bet with the king 8 over here on table 4. And facing a bet. So we're going to go ahead and bet. Turns. Slightly over half pot, 60 pot or so. 60% pot or so. Once it checks through. Ace-3 suited on a couple tables here in the blinds. The one in the big blind here, we're going to be calling. Versus raise, the one in the small blind here, we're going to go for a 3-bet. Versus a button raise. Big difference between being in the small blind and big blind. Big blind, you're closing the action. Small blind, you can easily get squeezed by the big blind. Start off by checking the ace-3 of diamonds, nut flush draw. Facing a bet on this board, we are going to just call mostly. Turn the nut flush, which is nice. We're looking for a check raise here. He obliges and bets 9. We're going to just check raise to a normal size of 28. I don't think he's using this sizing with sets or 2 pairs too often. I think it's mostly bluffs and straights. And when we call, I don't think he ever continues with his bluffs. 10-9 offsuit, facing a 2.5x from the big blind. We're just going to go ahead and call, take a flop. We're going to start wrapping up here because we're running short on time. Queen 8 of diamonds, go ahead and 3-bet, not to 51. We're going to go ahead and 3-bet. Queen 9 suited would definitely be a call. Queen 8's a little bit on the lower side, so we can go ahead and 3-bet. Plays pretty well in position when called. 6s, pretty easy call. Just call the 10-9, turn an open-ender, start off with the check. Expect this to check through a fair amount. Kind of on my guard when it doesn't. I'm obviously never folding, but I'm never doing anything other than calling and checking, and pretty much mostly folding river when he bets. Not because I'm scared of the king, but the fact that he bet this board twice is indicative of a much stronger hand than just top pair 10 kicker. So we're going to go ahead and fold, and he's going to have to take that one. 6-2 suited versus a min raise is a a decent candidate for a 3-bet out of position. Go ahead and take that one down. A little bit too loose to be calling even a min raise, but it'll play better as a 3-bet. Start taking the blinds off here. Folding 10-8. Queen Jack suited. We're going to go for the 3-bet. I'm going to 3-bet a lot of suited Broadway hands here. When we call from the small blind, the big blind's going to 3-bet a lot and put us in a bad spot. When if we were in the big blind with this hand versus a button raise, we would just be calling a whole lot of the time. Facing a 4-bet out of position, mostly just going to be calling. Mostly just going to be folding, rarely calling. He should have a pretty wide flatting range here, so when he is defining his hand, he's going to be pretty polar to very big hands, and his bluffs, and the fact like ace-6 suited, but the fact that we don't block any of the big hands, we're just going to go ahead and fold. Queen 8 off, too loose to be defending. Ace 8 off will be a raise from the button. 8-6 off. You can either call, raise, fold. I opt to mostly raise. And we're going to bet half pot with top pair here on an 8-5-3. And we're going to bet less than half pot on this paired board. Pretty bad turn when the flush comes in, so we're going to go ahead and check. And fold to the raise with the 8-6. And also be folding the ace-8. Alright, raise the queen 10 suited on the button. Versus a raise here, it's a 3-bet or fold. I don't like to 3-bet hands this week. They don't play terrific post-flop, so I'm going to go ahead and fold the king 10 off. Sit out here. And we just hit the 30-minute mark. Obviously not the greatest results video. It looks like we lost about 1 buy-in, so $200 total over 4 games. As you can see, we essentially just bled away. We lost no real big pots. We had trips against a flush and a few other weird hands. Didn't really make any hands, which is to be expected when you're playing for a half an hour. But hopefully you can get some takeaways from it, like which hands to play in what positions, when you want to c-bet, when not to c-bet, and in general just a good idea of how you should be thinking through your hands. If you want more information on the Hand History Lounge, check out www.handhistorylounge.com. Come check us out. Andrew, Nemi, and myself are in there pretty often. I answer every single post. Got a lot of good discussion going on, mostly about 1-3 no limit and 2-5 no limit hands. A lot of the players making transitions, moving up stakes. 1-3 players going to 2-5, 2-5 players now going to 5-10. Everything's going well. Check us out there, and we'll see you next time on the online grind. Later.